Holiday ham is supposed to be the centerpiece of the table. The glossy, spiral-sliced showstopper that fills the kitchen with warmth, draws everyone together, and makes people forget all about the dry turkey from Thanksgiving. It's tradition. It's comfort. And for many families, it's non-negotiable. But somewhere along the way, the American holiday ham quietly changed. And not for the better. Today, the grocery store ham aisle has turned into a game of sodium roulette. Brands that promise heritage, craftsmanship, and old-fashioned flavor are often delivering nothing more than water-injected pork, chemical glazes, and salt levels so extreme they overpower everything else on the plate. Some hams steam instead of roast. Others taste metallic, rubbery, or oddly sweet in ways that feel more like a lab experiment than a holiday meal. The problem is that most people don't find out until it's too late, when the guests are already seated and the centerpiece has failed. And once you've committed to a bad ham, there's no saving dinner. So today, we're cutting through the marketing and ranking 12 of the most popular holiday hams in America. We'll expose the 7 hams you should avoid at all costs, and highlight the 5 rare options that actually deliver real flavor, proper texture, and a holiday meal you won't regret. By the end of this list, you'll know exactly which hams deserve a place on your table, and which ones never should. Worst number 1. Oscar Mayer. Oscar Mayer was once a name that actually meant something. Founded in the late 1800s, it built its reputation on transparency, quality, and trust, the kind of brand your grandparents didn't question. But that legacy no longer exists. Today, Oscar Mayer's holiday ham feels like a relic wearing a respected name, not a product worthy of it. The first problem is processing. This ham is aggressively engineered for mass production, resulting in a uniform, rubbery texture with almost no natural fat marbling. Instead of a rich, pork-forward flavor, what you get is something strangely hollow. Ham that tastes more like a memory of ham than the real thing. Smokiness is advertised but barely detectable, and the glaze never properly caramelizes into that crust people expect from a holiday centerpiece. Visually, it looks fine at first glance, but once sliced, the illusion falls apart. Thin, overly consistent slices signal industrial precision, not craftsmanship. The flavor is bland to the point of disappointment, forcing guests to drown it in sides just to feel satisfied. At a relatively low price point, Oscar Mayer leans on convenience disguised as tradition. It's not offensive enough to spark outrage, but it's forgettable in the worst way. And for a holiday meal, forgettable is failure. Worst number 2. Walmart Great Value. Walmart's Great Value spiral ham is what happens when the only goal is to hit the lowest possible price, regardless of consequences. This is not a ham designed for celebration. It's a product engineered to survive shipping, storage, and shelf life. Even if flavor and balance are sacrificed along the way, the overwhelming issue here is salt. Bite after bite delivers an aggressive sodium punch that dominates everything else on the plate. Many people find it borderline inedible without constantly reaching for water. Instead of enhancing the pork, the salt completely buries it, turning dinner into a hydration challenge rather than a meal. Texture is another gamble. Some slices are passable, while others are tough, chewy, or oddly spongy, often within the same ham. Heavy water injection causes the meat to steam instead of roast, releasing pools of salty liquid that dilute flavor and ruin any chance of proper caramelization. The included glaze packet only makes things worse, adding artificial sweetness without depth. At $2 to $3 per pound, it's cheap, but the savings show immediately. This is the ham family members politely avoid while loading up on sides. Walmart Great Value doesn't just cut corners, it removes them entirely, earning its place near the bottom of the list. Worst number 3. Kroger Private Label. Kroger is one of the most trusted grocery chains in America, which makes their private label spiral ham such a letdown. This is a product that looks solid on the shelf and feels like a safe, middle-of-the-road choice, until it hits the table. Once cooked, the ham reveals its biggest flaw, dryness paired with density. Instead of slicing into tender, juicy meat, you're met with a texture that's almost rubbery, as if moisture was pulled out during processing and never properly restored. The fat distribution is uneven, leaving some slices lean and tough, while others are oddly slick. That inconsistency makes every bite feel like a gamble rather than a pleasure. Flavor doesn't save it. The pork taste is muted, buried under preservatives and a glaze that turns syrupy instead of caramelizing. The artificial maple notes feel flat and manufactured, adding sweetness without depth. Reviews across Walmart and Amazon echo the same complaints. Too salty, no real flavor, and tough enough to distract from the meal. At $4 to $6 per pound, this ham sits in an uncomfortable middle ground. It's not cheap enough to excuse the flaws, and not good enough to justify the price. Kroger's name suggests reliability, but this ham turns that trust into disappointment, earning its place among the hams best left on the shelf. In worst number 4, Market Side. Market Side is Walmart's attempt at a more upscale private label, designed to attract shoppers willing to pay extra for the illusion of quality. The packaging looks refined, the branding feels premium, and the price reflects it. Unfortunately, once the ham is cooked, the truth becomes obvious. This is the same budget product in a nicer outfit. The flavor leans aggressively sweet, dominated by an artificial maple glaze that tastes more synthetic than seasonal. Instead of enhancing the pork, it overwhelms it, masking the lack of real depth underneath. Reheating only makes things worse. The texture turns rubbery, and leftovers become brittle and unpleasant, falling apart on the plate. Heavy water injection causes the ham to shed liquid during cooking, preventing proper roasting, and leaving you with a diluted, glossy surface rather than a crisp, caramelized crust. At $5 to $7 per pound, Market Side charges a premium without delivering premium results. This ham appeals to shoppers who think they're upgrading from great value, but the improvement is mostly cosmetic. Market Side proves that better packaging doesn't equal better food, and it earns its spot as a cautionary example of marketing over substance. Worst number 5, Hormel Cure 81. Hormel is a respected name in American meat production, which makes Cure 81 one of the most confusing disappointments in the holiday ham aisle. Marketed as a lean premium option, this ham promises quality, but delivers something that feels over-engineered and oddly artificial. From the moment it starts cooking, the warning signs appear. Instead of filling the kitchen with warm, smoky aromas, Cure 81 releases a sharp, industrial smell that hints at heavy processing. The flavor follows suit. Metallic, one-dimensional, and noticeably chemical, with very little natural pork character coming through. Despite being labeled as smoked, there's almost no real smokiness to speak of. Texture is another issue. The ham is so aggressively lean that it borders on dry, lacking the fat needed to carry flavor and moisture. The ingredient list includes additives like potassium lactate, dextrose, and sodium nitrate, and the sodium content climbs to an eye-opening 820 milligrams per serving. That level of salt overwhelms the palate and turns what should be a centerpiece into something closer to packaged deli meat. At $6 to $8 per pound, Cure 81 trades heavily on the Hormel name, but the experience doesn't justify the price. It's ham built for shelf stability, not celebration, and that's why it belongs among the hams to avoid. Worst number 6. Farmland positions itself as a heritage pork brand, leaning hard on grain-fed language and traditional imagery to suggest quality. But once cooked, their spiral ham exposes the gap between marketing and reality. This is a mass-produced product wearing the costume of craftsmanship. Flavor is dominated by salt with very little complexity. Instead of layered porkiness, you get a flat, aggressive seasoning that masks the meat rather than enhancing it. Fat distribution is wildly inconsistent. Some slices are decently marbled, while others are lean, chewy, and dry enough to tire your jaw. Every slice feels like a surprise, and not in a good way. Water injection plays a major role in the disappointment. The ham steams instead of roasting, releasing excess liquid that prevents browning and leaves the surface slick. At $3 to $5 per pound, the price is appealing, but the experience reminds you why it's so cheap. Farmland's branding suggests tradition, but the product delivers budget quality. It's edible but forgettable, and it leaves you wishing you'd spent just a little more for something worthy of a holiday table. Worst number 7. Smithfield. Smithfield is one of the most recognizable names in American pork, but that familiarity hides a long list of reasons their honey spiral ham belongs firmly on the avoid list. Once a heritage brand, Smithfield has become a symbol of industrial-scale meat production, and that shift shows up in every bite. The ham is aggressively brine-injected to the point where it releases pools of liquid during cooking. Instead of roasting, it steams. The glaze never forms a proper crust, remaining jelly-like and overly sweet. Texture is inconsistent and unsettling, mushy in some areas, strangely tough in others, with a mouthfeel that feels coated in preservatives rather than natural fat. Flavor is equally problematic. A chemical, metallic aftertaste lingers long after swallowing, overpowering any real pork character. That's not surprising given Smithfield's history of recalls and food safety controversies, including listeria incidents and environmental violations. While past issues don't guarantee current failure, they do reflect a corporate culture where volume often wins over care. At $3 to $5 per pound, Smithfield is widely available and tempting, but availability doesn't equal quality. This is the ham people regret halfway through dinner, quietly wishing they'd chosen anything else. Smithfield's spiral ham earns its spot here as a warning. Big production doesn't mean better food. Best number 8, Trader. Joe's Trader. Joe A.S. marks the turning point on this list, the moment where holiday ham stops being a risk and starts being reliable. For shoppers who want quality without spending weeks researching brands, Trader Joe's private label ham is a quiet standout. The ingredient approach is noticeably cleaner than most mass-market options, with no harsh chemical aftertaste. The flavor strikes a balanced, sweet and savory profile that feels intentional rather than forced. Instead of overpowering sweetness or aggressive salt, the glaze complements the pork, letting the meat itself shine. Texture is where Trader Joe's really wins. The slices are moist, tender, and forgiving, holding up well during reheating without turning rubbery or dry. It feels closer to something homemade than factory-produced, which is rare at this price point. At $4 to $6 per pound, Trader Joe's delivers upper-tier quality at mid-tier pricing. Reviews consistently describe it as surprisingly good and easy to serve without stress. This is the ham for people who want to impress without overthinking it, dependable, clean, and genuinely enjoyable. And Trader Joe's doesn't try to be legendary, it just tries to be good. And that's exactly why it earns its place among the best. Best number 9, Sam's Club. Sam A.S. Club earns its place near the top of this list by delivering something that's surprisingly rare in the holiday ham aisle, consistent quality at a fair price. This is a ham designed for real families hosting real gatherings, where reliability matters more than flashy marketing. From the first slice, the difference is clear. The ham carries a deep, smoky aroma with a flavor that feels balanced rather than aggressive. The salt level enhances the pork instead of overwhelming it, and the fat distribution is consistent enough that you don't encounter those dreaded, dry, chewy sections. Even after reheating, and again on day 2 or 3, the ham remains moist, which is an achievement many premium brands fail to pull off. At $2.99 to $3.99 per pound, Sam's Club delivers exceptional value without tasting cheap. Reviews across Consumer Reports, Reddit, and retail sites consistently praise its texture, flavor, and reheating performance. This is the ham people quietly recommend to friends after a successful holiday meal. It doesn't pretend to be artisanal or nostalgic. It just works. And sometimes that's exactly what you need when you refeeding a crowd and don't want surprises. Best number 10, Boar's Head. Boar's Head has spent more than a century building a reputation on doing things the right way, and their sweet slice ham shows exactly why the brand commands respect. Still family-owned, Boar's Head focuses on whole cuts of pork, careful seasoning, and consistency that mass-market producers simply can't match. The flavor is clean and confident, with no chemical aftertaste or artificial notes. Every slice tastes intentional, properly seasoned, lightly sweet, and deeply pork-forward. Unlike many grocery store hams, Boar's Head delivers uniform tenderness across every slice, eliminating the textural roulette that plagues cheaper options. What really sets it apart is reliability. You know exactly what you're getting, whether it is cut fresh at the deli counter or served as the centerpiece of a holiday meal. The sweetness complements the savory meat instead of masking it, creating a balanced profile that appeals to almost everyone at the table. At $8 to $12 per pound, It's undeniably premium, but the quality justifies the price. Boar's Head doesn't rely on flashy packaging or nostalgia, it relies on execution. And that's why it earns its place among the best holiday hams you can buy. Number 11. Costco Kirkland. Signature Costco's Kirkland Signature Ham proves a powerful point that most shoppers overlook. Standards matter more than sourcing. On paper, the irony is almost unbelievable. Costco actually sources from Smithfield, the same company that ranked among the worst earlier on this list. Yet the final product couldn't be more different. The reason is Costco's obsessive quality control. Entire shipments are rejected if they don't meet texture, moisture, or flavor standards. The result is a ham with beautiful fat marbling, a buttery mouthfeel, and slices that remain tender from edge to edge. Instead of steaming in the oven, this ham actually roasts, allowing the glaze to caramelize into a real crust with depth and balance. Flavor is rich without being heavy. Sweetness, smoke, and savory pork notes work together instead of competing. Consumer reports, blind taste tests consistently rank Kirkland Signature near the top, and online consensus often calls it the best value ham on the market. At roughly $2.89 to $3.29 per pound, it undercuts many mid-tier brands while outperforming them. Costco's version shows what happens when a retailer refuses to accept mediocrity, even from massive suppliers. Best number 12, Honey Baked Ham. Honey Baked Ham doesn't just top this list, it defines the category. This is the brand that invented spiral sliced ham and built an entire holiday tradition around doing one thing exceptionally well. Founded in the 1950s and still family-owned, Honey Baked has resisted the shortcuts that ruined so many competitors. The signature honey crust is unmatched. Crisp, sweet, and deeply caramelized, it forms a crackling exterior that competitors have tried and failed to copy for decades. Inside, the meat is perfectly balanced, tender without being mushy, juicy without being waterlogged, and properly smoked so flavor builds with every bite. There are no mystery textures, no surprise dry spots, no chemical aftertaste. Every slice tastes intentional. Consumer Reports blind tests have repeatedly called it the clear winner, and that reputation has held for years because the standards haven't slipped. Yes, it's expensive, $10 to $12 per pound, but this is the ham you buy when failure isn't an option, when guests matter, when tradition matters. Honey Baked isn't just food, it's reliability. The holiday ham aisle is where tradition collides with marketing, and the results range from unforgettable to unforgivable. The worst hams on this list are sodium bombs and water balloons, engineered for shelf life, not celebration. They rely on branding, price tags, and nostalgia to disguise shortcuts that show up the moment you carve the first slice. The best hams, on the other hand, respect both the pig and your palate. They balance salt instead of abusing it. They roast instead of steaming. And they deliver flavor that feels worthy of the occasion, rather than something guests politely tolerate. What this ranking really shows is that you don't need the most expensive ham, but you do need standards. When companies care about ingredients, processing, and execution, the difference is obvious on the plate. Your holiday centerpiece shouldn't be a gamble. Choose the hams that deliver real flavor, real texture, and real value. Skip the regrets. Reward the brands that actually earn your trust. If this breakdown helped, hit subscribe for more honest food rankings, and drop a comment with the worst holiday ham experience you've ever survived. Until next time, keep your standards high and your holiday table worthy of the moment.